Right, one of the questions we had was gearbox oil leaks. Right, you've got your 3 mounting studs that screw up through the casing. Obviously they go into the casing here. 1, 2, 3. So if you've got to the stage where you've stripped it completely, when you put those back in, put them in with thread lock.
Yeah.
But they have to, see that's such flanked there, square edged.
Yeah.
And you have to set them front to back on the gearbox. Yeah,
So
those flat edges fit in here, those 3 slots.
Okay.
So you have to line them front to back on the gearbox.
Yeah.
Then your gearbox will move. Well, that's a potential leak point. Obviously check for any cracks or anything like that anywhere around the gearbox casing. When this was bad, basically if you put that in there, this is your 3rd gear, it was doing that, remember?
Yeah.
All the bearings are so knackered. Inherently that oil seal will leak because that's going around in an oval, not in a circle.
Yeah.
So that's a leak point. That cap on there, which is like a bit like a core plug, that's so you can bang out the end of your counter shaft. Obviously if they're banged in there tight, they don't leak. Those 2 screws there which hold your kickstart pull in, you want to make sure that they're done up tight because they can leak. I mean, if the casing isn't knackered anyway, it'll probably leak. But generally I don't put any sealer on these, I just put the gasket on, check your edges, your faces all the way around for any high spots. Yeah, if you've got a high spot, just file it down.
Yeah.
Your cast iron isn't going to bend that much, so when it's all screwed up and done up tight, they shouldn't leak out of here. You've got an O-ring, square faced O-ring, 2 actually. One fits in there and slides over your counter shaft as it goes in, and they're an absolute pig of a thing to fit, but make sure it's in there because it will just pour oil out the kickstart. And the other one is, I think it's on your gear, yeah, it's on your gear change barrel, I think. Yeah, it's on the gear change barrel. See that black there? That's a rubber seal that goes on there.
Yeah.
So that pushes in there and your barrel rotates on it, your selector barrel. So you want to make sure that that is changed. And the only other bit, well actually there's 2 bits, where your, if I can find it, oh, that one, that goes in there. That's your selector quadrant, yeah?
Yeah.
Now there's a spring, there's that one I think, yes that's that one, and you should have, it's just a leather washer, yeah? So it goes in there, that goes through there, you put your wheel on, but the spring forces against that leather washer. It just stops any splash of oil coming out through that. That's that. And the only other leak point you can get is obviously your main shaft, which is that one, sits in there. Your clutch rod actuating arm goes all the way through the middle. Okay, it's very unlikely you'll get oil ingress into it, but there's a set of seals inside there. That's the old one, I've got to take them out. It's like a rubber cone, and I think 2 flat seals fit in there. They're pennies, so change them when you do them. So it's spring loaded. Yeah. That seals it up against the clutch actuating arm. That's it really. Most of the damage on these, or most of the leaks on them, will be people overfilling them and knackered casings, to be honest with you. So providing you've checked out all your casings, nothing split too badly, you've got a decent gasket in there, clean all your faces off, make sure there's no lumps, and replace all the seals, and you shouldn't get any leaks realistically.
can you normally expect any leaks at all, or?
Well, you might get the odd drip here and there. Most of the people, what they think is a gearbox leak is what we've said before, that oil adjustment screw on the misting system that goes into the primary, or it's wet sumping and the ball bearing in the oil pump is letting the sump fill up. I mean, these will fill up to a level, I mean, that's the bottom of the crankcase. If you leave them for a long time and the ball bearing isn't seated, they will fill up to above that and then just pour straight out that side, because there's no oil seal in that side.
Yeah.
So obviously the scavenge pump is supposed to take the oil out of it. If it's so full up when you've left it, the oil's pouring straight into that casing, it'll just drip out the bottom. So people think it's the gearbox leaking, but it isn't. Yeah, so basically if the casings are in good condition and you've got all new seals in it and that main third gear clutch hub holder isn't flapping around, they shouldn't leak. You might get your drip, but nothing major, you know what I mean? Well, the only other place it can leak is those two there. That's your second gear. It just holds the second gear in, basically. So make sure they've got a bit of sealer on them when you put them in. And that's it. I lied, there's another thing as well.
Oh my gosh.
Where is it? Right, top of the gearbox cover. Early ones didn't have them. See that little hole? That's a breather. So can you imagine that's full of 50 weight or 40 or 50 weight oil? All those gears are spinning round and round and round and round. It's going to cause expansion.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the air, if the air isn't able to release out of the gearbox, it will just build up, and it will force it out of any cracks it wants to come out of or any leak points.
Yeah.
So quite often they're blocked up. So just get a little bit of welding wire if it's on your bike and make sure that's clear. Just bung a bit of welding rod through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a common thing on them, for those to be bunged up. But it just lets the gearbox breathe. As indeed a crankcase needs breathing. It's just one of those silly little things. It's only a tiny little hole, but it can make a difference.
Yeah.